Let me tell you something that nobody really explains when you're healing. Peace and sadness can live in the same house, and that confuses people. Because you think once you finally get your peace, once the chaos stops, once the crying every night stops, once the anxiety settles down, once you stop checking your phone, once you stop wondering what they're doing and who they're with, you think that when peace arrives, sadness is supposed to pack its bags and leave. But that's not how healing works. Healing is strange. Healing is quiet. Healing is not the loud, dramatic moment people think it is. Healing is waking up one day and realizing you slept through the night. Healing is going an entire afternoon without thinking about them. Healing is laughing at something and not feeling guilty about it. Healing is cooking dinner, folding laundry, running errands, and realizing your chest doesn't feel heavy anymore. Healing is peace. But here's the part nobody talks about. You can have peace and still feel sad sometimes. And when that sadness shows up, it confuses you because you think, wait, I thought I was over this. I thought I healed. Why am I sad again? Why does this still hurt sometimes? So now, not only are you sad, but you're disappointed in yourself for being sad. And I need you to understand something very important tonight. Sadness does not mean you made the wrong decision. Sadness does not mean you're not healed. Sadness does not mean you should go back. Sadness does not erase your peace. Sadness is not always a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes sadness is just a sign that something mattered. You're not sad because you want them back. You're sad because you loved. You're sad because you tried. You're sad because you believed in something. You're sad because you saw a future that didn't happen. You're sad because you had to become someone new. And becoming someone new is beautiful, but it's also a loss. People don't realize that sometimes the sadness you feel isn't about the person anymore. It's about the life you thought you were going to have. It's about the version of you that existed when you believed certain things were forever. It's about the girl who didn't know yet. The girl who trusted fully. The girl who loved without caution. The girl who thought love meant safety. Sometimes you don't miss the person. You miss who you were when you were with them. And that's a different kind of sadness. That's a quiet sadness. That's a mature sadness. That's a sadness that sits next to your peace, not on top of it. See, in the beginning, sadness is loud. It's crying on the bathroom floor. It's not eating. It's checking their social media. It's replaying conversations in your head. It's wondering what you did wrong. It's wondering why you weren't enough. It's wondering how they moved on so fast. It's wondering if any of it was real. That sadness is chaos. But the sadness you feel now, the sadness that shows up even though your life is calm now, the sadness that shows up even though you're stronger now, the sadness that shows up even though you would never go back, that sadness is not chaos. That sadness is memory. That sadness is acceptance. That sadness is your heart closing a chapter with love instead of anger. And that's a very different kind of sadness. It's the kind of sadness that shows up when you drive past a restaurant you used to go to, when you hear a song you forgot existed, when you see a movie you watched together, when you see a couple in the grocery store laughing together, when something good happens and for a split second you think about telling them. And then you remember you don't talk anymore. It's not that you want them back. It's that they were once part of your life story. And you are allowed to feel sad about chapters that ended, even if ending them saved your life. Let me say that again because someone needs to hear this. You are allowed to feel sad about chapters that ended, even if ending them saved your life. Peace doesn't mean you feel happy all the time. Peace means the war is over. And some of you were in a war and didn't even realize it. You were in a war for your self-worth. You were in a war for respect. You were in a war for honesty. You were in a war for loyalty. You were in a war trying to prove you were enough. You were in a war trying to be chosen. You were in a war trying to keep something together that was slowly breaking you. So when you finally leave that war, when you finally put the weapons down, when you finally stop fighting for someone to love you correctly, when you finally stop arguing, stop explaining, stop begging, stop crying, stop hoping they'll change, you feel peace. But just because the war is over, doesn't mean you don't look back at the battlefield sometimes. And when you look back, you don't want to go back there. You don't want to fight anymore. You don't want that life anymore. But you do sometimes look back and say, wow, that was a big part of my life. Wow, I really loved them. Wow, I really went through something. Wow, I can't believe that's my story. And sometimes that reflection feels like sadness. But it's not the same sadness you felt when you were in it. It's the sadness of understanding. It's the sadness of growth. It's the sadness of outgrowing a life you once prayed for. Do you know how confusing it is to outgrow something you once begged God to keep? Do you know how confusing it is to thank God for removing someone you once begged Him not to take? Do you know how confusing it is to finally understand why something didn't work, and realize the person you are now would never accept what you once tolerated? That realization is peaceful, but it's also a little sad, because growth will introduce you to a version of yourself that would not have chosen the life you used to live. And when you meet that new version of yourself, you're proud. But you also grieve the version of you that didn't know any better yet. You grieve the girl who kept giving chances. You grieve the girl who kept explaining. You grieve the girl who thought love meant endurance. You grieve the girl who ignored red flags. You grieve the girl who stayed too long. You grieve the girl who thought being chosen was the same as being valued. You don't hate her, you don't judge her, you don't shame her, but you do feel sad for her sometimes. And that sadness is not a step backward. That sadness is compassion. It's self-compassion. It's you looking back at your old self and saying, you didn't know yet, but you were doing the best you could with the information you had. So, when people ask, why do I have peace but still feel sad sometimes? The answer is simple, because peace and sadness are not enemies. They are neighbors. Sadness visits. Peace lives there. Sadness knocks sometimes. Peace answers the door and says, you can come in, but you can't stay forever. And that is healing. Healing is not becoming a person who never feels sad again. Healing is becoming a person who can feel sad and still be okay. Read that again. Healing is not becoming a person who never feels sad again. Healing is becoming a person who can feel sad and still be okay. That's how you know you're healed. Not because you never think about them. Not because you never feel anything. Not because the past never crosses your mind. You know you're healed when the memory comes. And it doesn't destroy your day. It doesn't destroy your week. It doesn't make you text them. It doesn't make you question your worth. It doesn't make you forget why you left. You just sit there for a moment and say, yeah, that was a chapter of my life. And then you keep living. That's peace. Peace is not the absence of feeling. Peace is the absence of chaos. You're not crying every night anymore. You're not anxious every day anymore. You're not confused anymore. You're not trying to decode mixed signals anymore. You're not wondering where you stand anymore. You're not walking on eggshells anymore. You're not shrinking yourself anymore. You're just living. And sometimes, in the middle of that peaceful life you built, a little sadness will show up and sit next to you. And instead of panicking, instead of thinking something is wrong with you, instead of thinking you're not healed, instead of thinking you should be over it by now, just sit with it. Because that sadness is not there to break you anymore. That sadness is there to remind you, you loved, you survived, you learned, you grew, you left, you chose yourself, and you found peace. And if you ask me, that's not a sad story, that's a powerful one. So if you have peace but still feel sad sometimes, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. It means you have a heart. It means your heart remembers, but it also knows better now. And there is nothing more powerful than a woman who remembers, but no longer wants to go back. Because that woman has both peace and wisdom. And peace with wisdom? That's a woman who will never abandon herself again. If this video spoke to you, I want you to remember something. Healing doesn't mean you never feel sad again. It just means the sadness no longer controls your life. If you're a woman who is healing, choosing peace and learning to love yourself again, this channel is for you. Make sure you subscribe so you have a place to come when you need reminders like this. And if this message found you at the right time, comment the word peace below. Not because life is perfect, but because you're no longer at war with yourself. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.